Rigging in Moho Pro can be one of the most powerful parts of 2D animation, but it can also become one of the most time-consuming if the workflow is not optimized. Many animators spend hours correcting rigs, rebuilding structures, or solving deformation problems that could actually be avoided much earlier in the process. And the truth is, in many cases, the problem is not Moho itself. The problem is the rigging strategy. A good rig is not simply a rig that works. A good rig is a rig that saves time, stays stable, and allows animation to happen smoothly without constant technical corrections. Over time, while designing and rigging different characters in Moho Pro, I noticed that a few practical decisions can dramatically reduce production time and improve the final result. Some of these decisions may look simple, but they make a very big difference once your project becomes larger or when you need multiple character angles, multiple scenes, or repeated animation work. So, in this video, I want to share 5 practical tips and tricks that can help maximize your rigging process in Moho Pro. These are not theoretical ideas. These are practical workflow choices that can save hours of work and help you avoid many common rigging frustrations. We will talk about how to organize character views efficiently, why reusable templates matter, how to simplify control systems, when to use smart bones wisely, and how testing early can prevent major corrections later. If you are building characters regularly, these tips can help you work faster and more professionally. So let us begin with the first tip, which is one of the most important. Rig each view separately. When working on character rigging in Moho Pro, one of the most common mistakes many animators make is trying to build one universal rig that controls every possible character angle. At first, this seems like a smart idea because you think one rig should save time. You rig the front view carefully. Then later you try to transform that same rig into side view, three-quarter view, or full turnaround positions. But in real production, this usually creates more problems than advantages. Why? Because each view of a character behaves differently. A front view has its own proportions, symmetry, and movement logic. A side view has completely different visual relationships. For example, in front view, both eyes are visible, both shoulders are balanced, and the body remains symmetrical. But in side view, one eye may disappear, one shoulder becomes dominant, the torso changes shape, and many body parts overlap differently. Consequently, if you force one rig to manage all these situations, the rig quickly becomes heavy and difficult to control. You begin adding too many corrective layers, too many smart bones, and remember this, each bone has some control over another. Too many point corrections, and eventually, small changes start creating unexpected deformations. At the end, instead of saving time, you lose time. I remember that one day I was happy for my turnaround character is finally working correctly. Then, as soon as I activated one action, everything mixed up. It was a chaotic situation that I gave up all the rig and started a new one. What a miserable condition. My advice is simple. A much more efficient workflow is to rig each important view separately. This means you create one dedicated rig for the front view, then another dedicated rig for the side view, right and left. And if your project requires it, another one for three-quarter view. This approach gives you much more control because every rig is designed specifically for the visual logic of that angle. For example, when rigging the front view, you can focus entirely on symmetrical arm movement, balanced torso deformation, and frontal facial expressions. When rigging the side view, you simplify the structure because now only one side of the body is visible. This reduces complexity immediately. The arm hierarchy becomes simpler. The facial setup becomes lighter. The body deformation becomes cleaner. And animation becomes easier. Another major advantage is that corrections become faster. In fact, if the side view elbow bends badly, you correct only the side rig. You do not disturb the front rig. So, this protects your work and keeps every rig stable. In Moho Pro, this workflow becomes even more powerful when you organize your project properly. You can create separate groups of rigs. Front view rig, side view rig, three-quarter view rig. And it would be better if inside each group, you keep all corresponding layers isolated. You may ask me why. Simply, because this allows quick switching during production. For example, if your scene starts in front view and later moves to side view, you simply transition between prepared rigs instead of forcing one rig to do impossible transformations. Professional animators often use this method because production speed matters more than theoretical rig complexity. Another point to consider is this: a rig should serve animation. Animation should not fight the rig. Now, some people ask, does this not create duplicate work? The answer is yes, but only partially. Because once you finish one rig, many elements can still be reused. Hands, eyes, mouth systems, bone naming conventions, control logic. The second rig usually becomes faster to build because the first rig already established your structure. So, in reality, you gain speed later. Another important point is facial animation. A front face requires both eyes, eyebrow symmetry, centered nose behavior, and balanced mouth deformation. A side face requires a completely different solution. Single eye, single eyebrow, profile nose, jaw movement from profile angle. Trying to force one facial rig to handle both often creates unnecessary complexity. Separate view rigs solve this immediately. The same applies to clothing. A dress in front view folds differently from side view. A sleeve behaves differently. Hair volume changes visually from one angle to another. This is why separate rigs produce cleaner animation. And cleaner animation means more professional results. My practical recommendation is simple. Before starting any character rig, decide early which views your animation really needs. If your scene uses mostly front and side views, rig those two first. Do not build unnecessary complexity for views that may never appear. This saves enormous production time. To wrap up the first tip, the key lesson here is: a smart rig is not the most complicated rig. A smart rig is the rig that gives you fast, clean, predictable animation. And very often, that means rigging each view separately. The second tip that can significantly improve your rigging speed in Moho Pro is this: build a reusable character template. Have a look on the video I created on making a reusable character template. This is one of the biggest time-saving habits professional animators develop over time. Many people design and rig every new character from zero. They start with a blank file. They redraw proportions. They recreate layer structures. They rebuild bone systems. They reconnect controls. And they repeat the same technical work again and again for every project. At the beginning, this may feel normal because every character looks different. But after several projects, you realize that many internal structures remain almost the same. The external appearance changes, but the rigging logic often stays very similar. A character still needs a head, a torso, arms, legs, joints, control bones, layer hierarchy, and deformation logic. This means that instead of starting from nothing every time, you can build one strong template that becomes your foundation. A reusable template is not a finished character. It is a rigging skeleton prepared for adaptation. It gives you a clean structure that you can modify depending on the design. For example, you can create one neutral front view base character with basic body proportions, organized vector layers, bone hierarchy, naming conventions, joint placement, and simple controls already prepared. Then, whenever a new character is needed, you duplicate that file and edit only what changes. You may adjust body shape, head size, hairstyle, clothing, facial details, or proportions, but the rigging structure remains stable. This immediately saves a large amount of technical preparation time. In Moho Pro, this becomes even more powerful because layer hierarchy is extremely important. If your template already has a clean structure such as head group, face controls, torso group, left arm, left leg, right leg, accessories, then every new project begins with strong organization. This also reduces mistakes, because when building from zero, many small errors happen. Layers placed in wrong groups, bones affecting wrong parts, forgotten masking setups, inconsistent naming, or control confusion later during animation. A template removes much of this risk. Another major advantage is consistency. If you produce a series, tutorials, or multiple characters for one project, templates help maintain similar rigging quality. This means all characters behave more predictably. Animation becomes easier because controls feel familiar. You do not need to relearn every new rig. Now, an important detail is your template should stay simple. Do not overload it. A template should contain only elements that are used often. For example, basic joints, standard hand setup, basic head turn controls, common mouth system, simple eye controls. Then, special features can be added later only when needed. If the template becomes too complex, it loses its speed advantage. Thus, think of the template as your professional starting engine. Another very useful practice is creating separate templates for different character categories. For example, one adult female template, one adult male template, one child template, one side view template, one front view template. This gives you even more speed because proportions already match the intended design. A strong, reusable template is one of the best systems you can build in Moho Pro. Now, once your template is ready, the next challenge is avoiding unnecessary rig complexity. And that leads directly to tip number 3. The third tip is this: simplify your controls and avoid over-rigging. This is one of the most common traps in character rigging. When learning new rigging tools, it is very tempting to use every advanced feature immediately. You discover smart bones. You discover complex bone constraints. You discover multiple control layers. And naturally, you want to include everything in one character. At first, this feels powerful. The rig becomes sophisticated. It contains many controls, many hidden systems, many correction layers. But very quickly, animation becomes slower because the animator must now manage too many decisions for every movement. A rig is not successful because it contains many controls. A rig is successful because the animator can achieve natural movement quickly and predictably. That means every control should have a clear purpose. If a control does not solve a real animation problem, it may not be necessary. For example, when rigging an arm, some people create too many independent controls. One for upper arm correction, one for elbow correction, one for wrist compensation, one for volume adjustment, one for sleeve correction, and another for hand offset. The result is that a simple arm movement suddenly requires multiple corrections every time, and this slows animation. Instead, ask a very practical question: what movement happens most often? Usually, arm lifting, arm bending, hand rotation, basic reach positions. So, your control system should prioritize those actions first. In many cases, one clean elbow system with proper bone placement already solves most situations. The same principle applies to legs. A leg does not need 10 controls if 2 or 3 controls already create stable movement. The same applies to facial rigging. In fact, many animators create extremely complex facial setups before testing whether the scene even needs that level of detail. If the project mainly uses simple expressions, a lighter facial rig is often much better. In Moho Pro, simplicity gives another advantage: faster troubleshooting. When something breaks in a simple rig, the source is easy to find. But when the rig contains many dependencies, one correction may affect several other systems unexpectedly. That is where many hours are lost. Another danger of over-rigging is hidden conflict between controls. For example, a smart bone drives one deformation, but another manual control affects the same points. Now two systems fight each other. Did it happen to you? Me, yes, and so many times. In fact, when this happens, the animator sees strange distortions and does not immediately understand why. This creates frustration. A cleaner workflow is to separate primary controls from secondary corrections. Primary controls should always remain obvious: main arm movement, main leg movement, main head rotation, main torso bending. Secondary corrections should only appear when truly necessary, and often they can stay hidden until needed. A very professional habit is this: before adding a new control, animate first. Yes, test actual movement. If a real problem appears repeatedly, then add a control that solves exactly that problem. Not before, because many imagined rig problems never actually happen during animation. This means some controls are built for situations that never occur, and those unused controls only increase rig complexity. Another practical method is naming controls or actions clearly instead of unclear names. This helps both you and anyone else using the rig later. A simplified rig also improves teaching. Your audience understands logic faster. When viewers see too many controls immediately, they often feel rigging is too difficult. But when they see a clean rig that performs well, they understand that efficiency matters more than technical overload. One more important truth: professional rigs are often simpler than beginners expect, because professionals value speed. In production, animation deadlines matter. A control that saves 1 second per keyframe becomes extremely valuable over hundreds of shots. So, the goal is not maximum complexity. The goal is maximum useful control with minimum friction. Every rig should answer this question. Can animation happen smoothly without technical struggle? If the answer is yes, the rig is working correctly. And often, that means removing unnecessary controls instead of adding more. Once your rig becomes simpler, the next step is knowing exactly where advanced tools should be used and where they should not. That brings us to tip number 4. Use smart bones only where they truly add value. The fourth tip is this. Use smart bones strategically, not everywhere. Smart bones are one of the most powerful rigging tools in Moho Pro. They allow you to connect a bone rotation to controlled deformation. This means one movement can automatically correct points, shapes, layers, or even trigger complex behavior. Because of this power, many animators quickly become excited and start using smart bones for almost every part of the character. At first, it feels like a professional step. You create smart bones for elbows, then shoulders, then wrists, then torso corrections, then face controls, then clothing movement. Very soon, the rig becomes full of smart actions. And while this may look advanced, it often creates a hidden problem. Too many dependencies. A dependency means one control is now responsible for many hidden reactions. This becomes difficult to manage over time, because when animation begins, one small movement may trigger several internal corrections. And if one of those corrections is slightly wrong, the animator must search through multiple smart actions to find the source. This is where rigging becomes slower instead of faster. One more very important principle. A smart bone should have one clear responsibility. Avoid giving one smart bone too many unrelated jobs, because then corrections become harder to isolate. One control should solve one major problem well. This keeps the rig reliable. In the end, smart bones are not about showing complexity. They are about reducing repeated manual correction during animation. Used wisely, they save enormous time. Used everywhere, they often create unnecessary maintenance. The strongest rigs are not those with the highest number of smart bones. The strongest rigs are those where each smart bone has a clear purpose and delivers visible production value. And once your rig uses advanced controls only where they truly matter, one final habit becomes essential. Testing early before the rig becomes too large to correct easily. That is tip number 5. The fifth and final tip is this. Test animation while rigging. This may sound simple, but it is one of the most important professional habits in character setup. A very common mistake is to spend a long time building the full rig first, adding bones, organizing layers, creating controls, setting smart bones, and only after everything is finished, trying the first real movement. The problem with this approach is that many rigging issues only appear when the character actually moves. A rig can look perfectly organized while still containing hidden problems. For example, an elbow may bend correctly in a small angle but collapse when rotated further. A shoulder may look stable in neutral pose but distort when the arm lifts higher. A head turn may work in one direction and fail in another. These problems are difficult to predict if movement is not tested early. That is why professional rigging is rarely separated from animation testing. As soon as one body section is ready, it should already be tested. If the arm is rigged, move it immediately. Rotate it, bend it, stretch it, and of course, observe what happens. Do not wait until the entire character is finished. This allows you to discover problems while the rig is still simple. And simple problems are much easier to fix. So these are 5 practical tips that can significantly improve the way you rig characters in Moho Pro. They are simple ideas, but together they can change the entire speed and stability of your workflow. If you found these tips useful, tell me in the comments which one has helped you most in your own rigging process. And if there are specific rigging challenges you want us to explore in future tutorials, feel free to suggest them. More practical Moho Pro tutorials are coming, including character setup, animation workflow, and advanced rigging techniques. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next tutorial.